pricing. How do you price a product, a service? How do you do that? Number one, the cost of production of that product. How much does it cost you to make whatever it is you're trying to make? That's like the very first thing that people use to cost a product. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're making shoes. You're going to look at the cost of labor. You're going to look at the cost of the materials for making that shoe. You're going to look at the cost of marketing. You put all of them together, then you add a little margin on it. That will be the cost, the pricing for that shoe. For a service, some people look at how much they spent in school for their service. So they will be like, no, I cannot charge you this, below this. I cannot. Secondly, what it takes for that service to be delivered. How long does it take for that service to be delivered? You know, how much does it cost me to deliver that service? So that is the cost. So they add a little margin on it as a profit. Number two, the prevailing market price. So number one, the cost of production. Number two, the prevailing market price. Then you find where you can fit. Then the last one, the perceived value of whatever it is you're trying to sell. Let me give the very example that so many people know, which is the iPhone. The iPhone is sold very expensively simply because of the perceived value. Now that perceived value didn't just come from nothing. It came from them knowing how good their item is. So they looked at the cost of production and all that, then they added their perceived value on it to set them apart from everyone else. So their product is legit. When you take it and you use it, everything is very good. So they have that perceived value. They can even increase the cost and so many people will pay. But how do people get that perceived value? It comes from the person. So it goes back to what I shared earlier. How do people take you? Do you look like a mediocre? Do you look like a joker? You know, if people tried using your product, does it really work? If someone tried to learn from you, or they tried your service, do they appreciate it? So you can only tell how valuable you are when you put your product out there and people appreciate it. Then you increase the price and still more people want. Even if you increase the price much more people still want to come. That's when you can tell your value. So it's hard to know your value until you have put yourself to follow up a client. Like the very first client, you've put yourself to understand exactly what they want and how they respond to you. That's when you understand your value. So even later on, if some other people don't want to pay that amount, you just let them go because you understand exactly what you bring to that table. So you won't be shaken. How does this apply to you guys? Those three methods. One, look at the cost of production. Two, look at the prevailing price in the market. Number three, perceived value. Know this, it's a very good tool. The first person to talk about the price or the cost loses the battle. If you start talking about price or money before the other party, you have lost. That's where they're going to start gauging whether you really know what you're talking about, whether you're that expensive. Because when you mention a price, someone is going to set their price or their cost in line with yours. So delay to talk about the money as much as you can. If you start talking about it, have everything that you have that you can get to defend it, because someone is going to bargain according to that price. So delay talking about money as much as you can. All right, I think that's it. Please ask if you have any question in line with pricing.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
My question is now, for example, for advertising, where our pricing is mostly we determine our pricing on stuff like performers that we're going to have, or if we need a PS system, or if we need yeah, on certain things. So what if a client asks for the price before me knowing what the client really, for example, before me knowing how many performers we're going to have, or are we going to need a PS system? How can I determine the price without me knowing those particulars? Yeah.
Mention the price and mention what the, that amount will give them immediately. So the common cost that we have is 500K. So you mention 500K and you tell them from this 500K, we can get you 2 performers, we can get you a PS system, then we can get you this. Be very specific. If you mentioned a particular amount of money, mention what it's going to bring you. Then before they speak, mention what it won't give them. You get it? Mention all the things that they won't get because of this. Do not allow them to talk before you finish that. So after you finish, now allow them to talk. They will probably ask you, now if I'm to add all this, how much will it be? Now you can move up the cost. So when you go to approach someone, talk to them with this confidence of this thing is very valuable, you will need it during this particular time. Like that should be your approach. Do not sit back and say it's a bad time, so I cannot do anything because things are just bad. That is a very bad attitude. So change of attitude is the only thing that can help you in such a situation. The money is there. The people that need your services are also there. Your position is to look for them and ensure that they actually understand that you can give them that value. At times, they are not willing to give you that money because they don't see value that you're going to give to them. So even before you go to talk to them, do they really need what you're trying to give to them? If they do need it, how can you let them know that they need it? So if you can explain to them why they need it, then you can now talk about the cost of it. And even if you've mentioned a very high cost, you can stand firm on the fact that you know why they need your service. Lastly, there are some things you can say that will get someone interested in what you're selling. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm at a retail store and someone comes to buy shoes. They're looking into another shoe, like other place where there are shoes. But then you call them and you tell them that, you know what? This pair of shoe here that I have is legit. It's a very rare model, you know? There are very few of them in the store. It gets taken out very fast. You're going to get someone's attention because everyone wants to get the thing that is, you know, that everyone is taking it. Like just that, you've taken someone's attention. And the shoe even doesn't have to be in a rare, you know, model. So your language, how you talk to people, can determine whether they will be interested in what you're selling or not. So be watchful if you're talking to anyone. Know how to bring the urgency. Know how to package whatever you're talking about such that they will pick it up.